folk music is all about telling stories from history or ones that you make up too.
Old boots got soul, and I carry on this way, and we get better every day.
Hello, Jeremiah Craig. Welcome to the Epic Kate Show. I gotta adjust my thing. The Epic Kate Show.
Nice, I love it. Thank you for having me on the Epic Kate Show. It looks great. I love the background.
Thank you. You are a musician, storyteller person. Tell me more.
There's a story in everything, in every folk ballad and cowboy boot. And I'm here to share as much of every step, strum, and story as I can. I love music, folk music, love to tell stories with my folk music. And I also have a YouTube channel that I really focus on quite a bit. I do cowboy boot reviews, music videos. I'm just into a lot of different things, and it's a blast sharing stories and helping people out on the cowboy boot end as well.
Nice. So you're a cowboy boot connoisseur.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. I love them.
Where are you in the world?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Cowboy capital of the country.
A lot of people wouldn't think so, huh? I mean, up here in the Northeast, a lot of people just think it's Texas or Oklahoma or just down south in general. But I think that's part of what makes me a little bit interesting is that, you know, I don't hail from those places. I'm from the Northeast, born and raised. So it's just a little bit different. And I'm sort of one of those spokespersons for the people who are in those unordinary areas to be wearing cowboy boots, to just wear them like all over the world, from Scotland to Turkey to Australia. I don't care where you are. You should have a pair of cowboy boots.
I feel that. That just made me think of How I Met Your Mother. Did you ever see that show?
With the red boots?
Yes.
Yep.
Did you get super excited when those red boots came on?
That was funny. He's pulling them off.
Pulling them off.
Totally. Yep. I got a pair of red boots too. And I think about that every time.
Did you have friends that were like, eh?
Yep. As soon as I got them for the channel, because it happened during the pandemic. And when I got the boots for the channel, I showed them off and people were like, pulling them off. I'm really attracted to sort of violent stories like murder ballads or things like that, but also just different kinds of stories that don't come up in conversation or in history class a lot. So if I come across a weird story that has like this interesting fact, then I like to make a song about it. Like in 2015, I was reading this book about leprosy colonies in Hawaii. And that got into a whole bunch of different kinds of things that was around leprosy and how people were put in quarantine, and basically their wills were fulfilled, basically legally dead, but they were put away in quarantine. And that happened a little bit here in the States too, the contiguous United States, with a guy named John Early. He was a soldier in the Spanish-American War. And while he was fighting, he contracted leprosy. And when he got back, he went to Washington, D.C., you know, to see what he fought for and the country and freedom and all of this stuff. And he noticed that he had little ulcers and lesions on his skin. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Hey, John, you got leprosy." And John's like, "Oh, that's not good." And the doctor's like, it gets even worse, John. Because we have to put you in quarantine for the rest of your life because we have no cure for this. And we think that it's really, really contagious. Now, it's not as contagious. It didn't end up being as contagious as they thought it was, because there was all of this just really bad public relations around it because of the Bible, because leprosy comes up in the Bible so much, right? So everybody's really afraid of it. it didn't end up being as contagious, but still the folks with leprosy were put away in quarantine forever. John Early did not like how leprosy patients were being treated because they were basically put in quarantine and forgot about. So he would break out of quarantine all the time and go protest at different rallies and political events. He'd just say, leprosy lives matter or something like that, right? So then he would get arrested and put back in quarantine, and then he would do it again. So he was just this escape artist that was constantly breaking out of quarantine because he didn't like how he was being treated. And when I read about that, I was like, oh, this has got to be a song. So I wrote the song. It's called Bust Out Early John.
Yeah, they call me Bust Out Early John. You see my feet face again on the Capitol lawn. Yeah.
Just those kinds of stories I love to come across and then tell stories about in my songs, because there's messages there, right? There's themes and morals that don't come up a lot. And I feel like some of these stories need to exist for the rest of human time and not get forgotten about like they were 100 years ago. Like it happened 100 years ago. Maybe there was a news article about it, but then everybody was like, screw it, he has leprosy, who cares? Well, we care now, right?
Mm-hmm. And the older we get, the more we see that, wow, 100 years wasn't that long ago.
It's true. In the grand scheme of things, it's really not.
That's kind of creepy. Like when I was realizing recently, when my grandpa's parents were alive. When my grandpa was a kid, his great grandparents were alive when slavery was a thing. Like
it's not that long ago, huh?
Not that long. Oh my gosh.
Right.
But listening to you talk about wanting to really find that story in the song made me think, are you familiar with this show, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
No.
Oh my goodness. Talk about great story.
I got to watch it.
Good storytelling, great songs.
Is that the one where she always hears everything in song and everything happens in musical terms?
Not everything, but a lot.
Okay. Yep. I've heard of this show. I haven't watched it yet though. It's worth watching, you're saying.
Yes. And there's a really great video clip. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description, that of her talking, Rachel, whatever her face is named, talking about the songwriting process and talking about how you can explore themes and songs in a way that you can't regularly, that sticks with people in a different way.
Totally. It's just like a lot of times you can just frame the perspective in a way that's a little bit more acceptable, right? And it's like, okay, I'm thinking about this in a different way than somebody else would. It's just like, here's what's happening. Here's how a person felt through music. And it just comes across a little bit differently than saying, hey, this guy broke out of quarantine with leprosy. And you're like, well, he had leprosy. Shouldn't he have been there? But when you attach it to music, then it's like, oh, maybe there's something else to this that I kind of understand now. I mean, he's away from his family. The government really doesn't understand leprosy, So there's a lot to it that music brings out in stories. I have to agree 100%. That's a great point.
Artists, creators, it's the most important thing to have vehicles to help people to see things in a different way, because it's like the world is in such state of crap of people just demonizing one side to the other and not listening.
Yep, it is difficult to get across your perspective or your ideas today because everybody wants to. I mean, we all have social media. We all can put our own opinions and debate 24/7, and it gets so tiring. I think that if we just let people do what they want and let them think what they want, it's like it's fine. Rarely, if ever, does somebody's opinion affect me. It just doesn't, because I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep making music. So sometimes, somebody might hook me and I'll get into a little bit of debate, but I try to stay away from it. I'm only human, and it's something that I feel like we could all just sort of put our heads down, keep working what we need to do to better our own lives and the lives of those around us.
Yeah. I'm just really confused when people's opinion is against the code in every person's heart of compassion for people. Like, it's like, I don't get it. Why is there such a lack of compassion?
It is difficult, but from my travels of being on tour and playing music all across the country, I visit rural towns, I visit suburban towns, I visit actual cities, and everybody sees the issues in their life in a different way. So when they look at the world and they say, well, it should be this way, or somebody in the city says, oh, it should be this way, then those two parties are like, you don't understand me. Why would you say that this should be this way when I don't have one-way streets around here? There's all dirt roads. And then it's the same way for the other. And it's just, I think people need to step back a little bit and have perspective over where they are and how their communities, their most close communities, are affected by what they want to happen. I mean, there's no reason for some laws to be in the country that are in the city. It just doesn't happen, right? I mean, I'm in Boston right now. Today is street cleaning day, Thursday. Every other Thursday is street cleaning day, and I got to move my car in from the street and down into the garage. I had to do that, or else I'd get towed and fined $100 or more. And it's happened before. That's not something that I'm used to because I grew up in the country, right? So that these two perspectives fight with each other. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. Why is this a thing? It's a free country. I should be able to park out there if I want to, and any day, whenever. Like, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, we could get into these arguments over anything from parking to something that, affects somebody else's life in a deeper way. But it all depends on, where you are, where you come from, and the community that you're living in. And we all need to step back a little bit, have a little perspective.
Well said. Woo! You must get a lot of inspiration for songs with all those travels.
Yeah, I do, for sure. Not over the past 2 years or year and a half, but yes, when I was on the road, I did get a lot of inspiration for songs, and even just like reading books about my hometown and that, wherever I happen to live at the moment, because I've lived all over too with my wife. And it's you get stories from people. I get stories from libraries in different areas. So there's stories all over the country, and there's so much to be inspired by.
So how many stories have you written?
A lot. I don't know. I can't tell you. Before I even started, recording my songs and actually putting them out on Spotify and things like that, I had written hundreds that never saw any airtime. I got 5 CDs worth of songs that I recorded when I just started making songs, just started writing, and they're horrible. It sounds bad, but they're tucked away in a drawer someplace. Only my family has those CDs. So there's a lot that I wrote that just don't see the light of day. And there's also a lot that I write that never even get chords. So I write a lot, or at least I used to. Right now, I was sort of recording this album and I wasn't really writing a lot. I'm looking forward to getting back into it, but I have about a 10%, keep rate. So that means out of 10 songs that I write, only one I actually keep. Mm-hmm. So that means that, out of the 10 songs on my newest album, Life is for Taking Chances, I wrote hundreds, or at least 100. So it's a process, but I can't tell you how many songs that I've written.
So what's a song that is just really special to you that you come back to again and again, or that you do in every one of your concerts?
Let's see. I would say that the One Shot right now is the best reception of the songs right now. I mean, that changes from time to time. The song that I really like at any one time is dependent on, what I'm going through in life. I'd say that the one right now that's getting the most attention and feels the best to play is One Shot off the new album. And I probably play that a lot right now.
And he said, empty your wheel gun out on the bar and we'll see how many rounds there are. Now, one shot for one shot, and I only deal in 45s. One shot for the whole lot, and that leaves you with one shot for your life.
Looking forward to listening to it.
It's a good one. It's another crazy story, so I think you'll like it.
That's exciting. You strike me as the kind of person who's just curious about everything. So you probably, I'm going to just guess that you probably like go on Wikipedia binges where you start at Kentucky Fried Chicken and end at like China 14th century or something.
Sometimes if I got the time to do that and I'm not making content or recording music, I will go down a Wikipedia hole for sure. It is fun to go down some of those holes and find out a whole bunch of different weird things. I also like thrift store books. So you go into a thrift store and you're just like, oh, this is weird. And you get it for like $1. And then you like, that was the leprosy book, right? So that I got that at a thrift store for 75 cents. And I read all about leprosy and the Hawaii colonies, the Hawaii leprosy colonies and stuff like that. So it was, it just stuff like that opens my mind up to really crazy things. And I often get songs out of it.
That's awesome. There's another YouTuber that I'm sort of friends with. He's a really cool guy. His channel's called Average Joe Schmidt, and he does these weekly vlogs and like talks about the things that he's curious about. Like, and then I learned a little bit about this thing, and then we did this thing as a family, and it's just he like footage of him driving around. So you see a little how the seasons are changing as the videos go on each week, and hear more little snippets into his life. It's like, gotta put a little plug out there for Joe. I'll put his channel in the description.
I love it. I'll have to watch it. That's right up my alley. That's so cool.
He's so relatable. It's like you watch it, you think this really should have a lot more subscribers, but you see that quite a lot on YouTube. Like, why do they have 2 million? Why do they have 46? This makes no sense.
Yeah, it's all about hitting the algorithm at the right time with the right content.
Yeah. So your videos are they mostly music or do you vlog?
I do some vlogs. I do some music. I do some cowboy boot stuff. So it's like a mix of a bunch of things. I haven't done as many vlogs over the past year and a half because of, COVID. There hasn't been really that much to vlog about. Because I'm just sort of here working on other videos. I tried to do vlogs. It was just sort of boring, but I'm looking forward to getting back out in the world. And in a couple weeks, I'm going to be heading out west, and over that trip, I'll be vlogging. So it will be fun to start doing the vlogs again because they are always a great way to tell interesting stories and show what different places look like.
I think a huge problem with giving interviews, conversations, whatever people want to call it, is that we can get an editing voice in our brain that's like listening to everything, thinking, how am I going to edit this? Am I saying it right? Should I have said it differently? And there's just too much thinking instead of just letting it flow.
Yeah, I think it's good to have some of that editing, though. I mean, you have to think, because if you just let things flow and then it sort of gets away from you in the cancel culture that we have, that could be very dangerous. So if thinking a little bit ahead and sort of trying to frame it in a way where it's the most helpful to the most people and won't get you in trouble is definitely helpful. I know it can be overwhelming to some people to have that much going on in your brain, and it's something that I've had to learn how to do because I'm one of those who definitely like to flow a little bit more. And it has gotten me in trouble in the past. Not as much as some other folks out there, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at on a regular basis.
Yeah, I hear that. Not wanting to be offensive, but wanting to be authentic. Because
Yeah.
authenticity is such a huge passion of mine. I really want to influence. I don't think a lot of us like the word influencer because we think it sounds shallow and it's like, buy this water bottle. You paid me $2,000 to show it, like it's not. Some people want to sell their life for the sake of selling it. And some people actually want to encourage towards good and actually have a platform and actually care about something. And I care about vulnerability not being a bad thing, that it's what connects us to people. And it's a degree of telling a story. Like you hear the story of someone, you see them in this vulnerable place and you're not like judging them, but you're like, oh my goodness, you poor person. How can I help you? Or if they're already dead and gone, you deserved better. This isn't fair. Now I need to go and make something right for somebody who's still here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Empathy is so important.
And there's just so much fakeness on the internet, and like, my life is perfect. Like, but I don't think there's as much of that with Corona because people are like really much more open about the fact that they're not doing okay and that it was really, really, really bad for their mental health to be stuck inside and to be afraid and all this stuff. So I think there's a bit more realness out there than there was.
Yeah, I think so too, because we just lived an entire year of our lives online and we had to figure out how to do it. So I would definitely agree that people are being a little bit more vulnerable. I mean, there's always going to be folks who are trying to make a story of how their life is going. And, that's fine. If you want to edit your life for the internet, that's cool. I mean, I definitely edit out things. I'm not going to share everything because that's just going to be way too much all the time. And some people, don't really care that much, and some people do care too much, which is cool too. But, there's sometimes a line for me where I don't want to share the thing that, that's just me, blowing off some steam, playing some video games. Sometimes I'll share those things, but like for the most part, people don't care. I'm just trying to, rest my mind a little bit. I'm just trying to do, or go home, visit with my family. I'm just trying to have family time. I don't need to be online. So I think the vulnerability comes in how you make the content. So a lot of people want to make perfect content all the time, make it so that it gets 3,000 likes, or if it doesn't, it's a failure. And that's something that I've always tried to push myself on. And when I had marketing jobs, I tried to push our clients and the actual company on, is just to make content. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if it's a Zoom call cut up. It doesn't matter if it's, on your phone. If it's good content, it's good content. I mean, we see memes every single day that are pixelated, sound like crap, and it gets tons and tons and tons of engagement. So that's proof right there that quality of content is in your mind. Like it's subjective. So it's just about making content and not worrying about what it looks like, and hoping that you make the connection. If you don't make the connection on that piece of content, then make another one. It's about numbers, not about the actual quality of it from when you first start.
I like that. So I'm wondering, I'm curious now, do you put a lot of vulnerability into your songs? Are there some that you don't really want to share because it's just too much of who you are and it's too much to share with the outside world?
Uh, Sometimes, but I hide it in metaphor and story. So, uh, like if I'm writing a story, I'll take my experiences in my life and attach it to a character. So that character is the vulnerable one. And of course, I still get, I don't know how you would say it. I still get enjoyment out of playing it. And I feel like those sort of feelings are expressed for myself, but I'm not putting myself out there in like a really sappy sort of um, vulnerable way. It as like I don't know, a really emotional song from the early 2000s, like an emo song or something like that. I try to hide it a little bit more in the story, but I do use things from that I've experienced in my life that come through in my music for sure.
Yeah. It makes me think back to my acting days. I was a professional actor for 12 years, traveling around. So I know the traveling life too. Traveling, living out of suitcases, staying in people's houses. And
Love it.
we were taught a style of acting where you weren't really supposed to pull from your own experiences. You're supposed to layer your character with these experiences so that you were pulling from their traumas or their experiences to feel through their eyes. But I think everybody pulls from their own experiences. You can't really help it.
Oh no, that would be impossible. The reason why we can feel emotions is because of something that happened to us in the past. So we need to understand where that emotion comes from so that we can use it in whatever facet that we're trying to do. For you, it would be acting. For me, it would be writing and performing the song. So it's I don't see how that would be possible for me because you need a baseline.
Do you ever like experience that thing where you're performing and the song just touches people and they don't clap, they're just quiet because they're just feeling it?
I think so. Yeah. And sometimes I'll end a song on a chord where it doesn't sort of complete. So if you're familiar with music theory, the one chord is the root, right? That's the music that the chord that the song is in. So usually songs are like 1 4 5, right? That's a blues song. So that's the 4 chord and the 5 chord. So sometimes I'll end a song on the 5 chord rather than on the 1 chord, which makes you feel like there's something else coming, right? So that keeps people a little bit quiet for a lot longer because they're expecting something else to happen. And I use that, I try to use that in a creative way, not just like troll the audience, right? Where, oh, I got you. You thought it was something else was gonna happen, but it's like on songs that uh, have that don't feel like they should end, right? Where it's like, so I have this song called We've Bobtailed Further for Less, which is about turning your life around and having a perspective of actually investing in yourself to grow as a person, even though you might not be making that much money at the moment. So when the song ends, it's sort of a turning point where it's like, okay, I have this perspective. Now it's time to do the work. So I end the song on the 5 chord so that people know that it's not done yet. Like you're just starting the whole mission, the whole path.
That is really neat. It's, I was trying to formulate my thought. It's the energy that you get from the audience. It's a part of the performance. Like it wouldn't, that you need each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love playing in front of an audience. And a lot of times I won't actually write out a set list when I perform in front of a live audience. Sometimes I will, just as a sort of a guide of where I can go if everything goes the way that I'm thinking. A lot of times it doesn't. Sometimes people are a little bit maybe they're not connecting with one song, or maybe they're really connecting with one song, and then it's like, okay, since you connected with this one, let me play this next, and sort of switch it around and sort of ride the energy that I'm feeling from them. So I really try to pay attention to that quite a bit, because it can make or break a show.
Mm. I've experienced that because the plays that we did, we would have a bunch of costumes backstage, and we would have a bunch of props, and we would just move a few chairs and tables to change the set. So we would travel with some people who would be like, "We're gonna do this play next," and we'd be like, "Oh crap, where's that jacket? Where's that prop? I need that envelope and that phone." And just being ready to follow the lead of the person, figuring out what's connecting with the audience and what they're emotionally ready for.
That is so cool to be able to do with that many people. A lot of people wouldn't be interested in doing that. I mean, this is what we're going to do, and then we go home. So the fact that you can do that with so many different people is very impressive. It's very difficult to do that with a band. I've performed with bands before, and a lot of times it's just like, here's our set list, let's stick to it. There has been times when we're like, okay, we're feeling this, let's go with this song next, let's skip it. But a lot of times we just stick to the plan. And if you guys can do that on a regular basis, that is super impressive.
It changed from team to team, because we would be assigned to a team for 4.5 months, or sometimes it would be a whole year, but the tours were so long. And I was doing this for 12 years, so I traveled with almost 40 people in that time. And some people were more flexible than others, and some people had more tenure than others. But talking about working with bands, you're going to be excited to see a couple of my conversations coming up on this channel, because I got to talk to Scott Page, who was with Pink Floyd and Toto.
Nice. Wow.
And
that is so cool.
You're really going to love this. I got to talk to Leland Sklar. If you don't know who he is, you've heard him. Everybody's heard him if you've listened to music. He's one of the most, maybe the most, I don't know, prolific studio musicians. Nice. Up on Wikipedia, he's worked with everybody.
Wow, that's going to be so much fun. He's going to have so many stories for you.
It was great to talk to him. He was so sweet.
Oh, cool. You already did.
Yeah. Now I just got to edit.
All right. I'm going to have to check it out. So it's not up yet?
No, but by the time this video goes up, it'll be up.
All right. Check it out, everybody.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say about your new album and what you're excited about it?
Sure. Yeah. The new album is something that I've been working on for, I guess, like around 8 years, because it's got songs on there from that I wrote at different times in my life, and they just didn't fit the projects that I was working on at those times. Like one song called Romeo y Julietas, one for my Romeo y Julietas. I wrote that in 2013. It's probably the oldest song on the album, and I was working on an EP at that time called The Commandeer, and it didn't fit at all. Like, it was completely different. So it's just sort of hit the back burner for a while. And same thing with Bust Out Early John. So these are songs that span over that time period. And when I got them all together, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of songs here that are just about taking chances. So they fit perfectly together. And that's why I called the album Life is for Taking Chances, which comes from the song One Shot, where the guy trades his bullets for a bunch of whiskey. So he's like, screw it, I don't need these bullets, I'm just going to drink instead. So Life is for Taking Chances. And it's all about taking risks in life for good and for sometimes bad too. And it's on Spotify, Apple Music. You can just go to jeremiahcraig.com/chances and find the link to your favorite streaming platform, and there's also a bunch of stories there, and you can read the lyrics if you wanted to get into the stories a little bit more. So everything's right there on jeremiahcraig.com/chances. The artwork is really cool too. It was done by Chris Butler on Instagram. His handle is @isoban, ISOBAN. He is awesome. And I recently interviewed him about his process. And by the time this interview goes up, it will be on my channel. So everybody says that they love the artwork. And I love it too. Like, he nailed it and it looks spectacular. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about the artwork as well, definitely check out that video on YouTube.
Neat. Yes, I will include all the links on the screen and in the description.
Thank you so much, Kate. I really appreciate you having me on my show. It was a lot of fun. You're a great host too.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share this, and I'm so excited to listen to your music.
I hope you like it.
Yes. So the way that I end my conversations is I give hugs. Oh.
Thank you, Kate.
And for really cool people who I think won't be scared, I also do this really weird thing. I don't know if you can see that picture on the wall. My friend did it. It's this.
It's like a dragon?
It's me actually doing this.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
The way that
I see it.
Is you put your head up like this and you flare your nostrils and say, "Nostrils of death."
Nostrils of death. Love it.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.